Talking about risks, though, any risk that comes to your mind that you've taken that's either worked or hasn't worked, but one that you could share a learning from for the audience here?
So several years ago, and it was when I was beginning my career, almost beginning my career, I was a young kid, and I bought into this power company in Calcutta. 12 to 14 hours of power cuts. I really had no clue what I was getting into. It was needing an investment of about 10, 11 crores. I knew my father would say no, so I went to my mother. And you know, mothers being mothers and sympathetic and thinking more from the heart than the mind, she convinced my father. And when I went in, my first day in that office, in that building, when I was entering, there were a few thousand workers outside, and they had a funeral pyre. And they had my effigy, and they said that they lit that funeral pyre. And they said, Sanjeev Goenka Murdabad. It was then that the reality sank in. It was a huge risk, 12 to 14 hours of power cuts every day. And if you couldn't lick that, you'd been booted out of the city. That's a risk which worked out and which has paid off handsomely. There are several others which haven't, but I'd rather not think about them.
Always look on the bright side. Okay, let's talk about football. That's been a passion for you. How did you get into football? Because versus cricket, there's actually a deeper connection there. And this is something that you've been pursuing for even longer.
So I knew nothing about football and this league. And one of my friends who's sitting right here came to me and said, you know, there is this proposal and would we like to partner? And I frankly thought that because it's this gentleman and I hold him in very high esteem, I said yes. But then it became a passion. And I think over the last few years, we've been in the league, in the ISL for 10 years. Out of 10 years, we've got to the playoffs 8 times. Tomorrow is our 5th final. We have won 3 titles. Hopefully tomorrow will be the 4th.
Another passion for you, of course, is music. Saregama is a legacy business, of course. Part of that also was Carva, where, when we saw surprising success with some of those, legendary songs, you also knew the singers very well, Rafi, Kishore, Lata. Which are some of your favorite melodies? I'm not sure if you're going to be singing for us, but which would be your favorite melodies?
I'm not as melodious as Anil Agarwal, so I'm not even going to try. But yes, Lataji was a great friend of my mother's, and we grew up seeing in her an aunt, and she would stay at our home in Calcutta. And so we've heard her doing riyaz, we've heard her just sitting and humming. My daughter, who now runs Saregama, is sitting here, and she was 4 years or 5 years, and Lataji took her through this journey of Jack and Jill went up the hill, and for 1 hour she was doing nursery rhymes with her. I actually wish we had those recordings. But for me, some of my favorite songs and some things that I listen to virtually every week, if not more frequently, are the songs of Aradhana, from Kora Kaagaz Tha Ye Man Mera and Mere Sapno Ki Rani Kab Aayegi To. And I keep listening to them, and I just keep, it's so relaxing, it's so de-stressing. And Kishore, Lata, I think the duets are absolutely fantastic.
Nostalgia. And your other passion, of course, is cooking. And this one was new to me. I didn't know too much about this. But what do you treat your family to at home, and how often?
My cooking thing stopped when my daughter got married. I used to cook to spend those few hours on a Sunday morning with her. So my father, my mother, my wife, my daughter, my son, I. It was just family bonding time. And they were the only people who wouldn't judge me. What I cooked was trash. And they still, out of affection, ate it. So for me, those were very special moments. Those were moments that I treasure. And once she got married and moved to Delhi, I stopped cooking.